This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Monday, July 21st. How did that happen already? The weekend's over? That was way too fast. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sunshine today. It's going to be beautiful. Low humidity, high 85. And then tonight and overnight clear, low 68. And tomorrow's even nicer. Sunshine, high 81. If you are walking out the door with us right now, 70 and clear in Rye up in Westchester County, 71 and clear in Pennington over in New Jersey, and it's 74 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
A border agent shot in the city's recovering. Another wild weekend on the mayoral campaign trail. Neighbors try to make sense of a triple stabbing in Queens. Cleanup continues from flash floods in New Jersey. And too many New Yorkers are turning in their dogs. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. A Customs and Border Protection officer shot during a botched robbery. This was underneath the George Washington Bridge in Washington Heights late Saturday night. And the person that shot him, allegedly, an illegal immigrant. Now, it's pretty clear he did not know who he was shooting. It was just a robbery. But police say 21-year-old Miguel Mora in custody in connection to the shootout under the bridge. DHS says that Mora is in the country illegally, has a history of violence as recent as just a couple months ago. He likely did not know he was shooting an off-duty officer, especially when that officer fired back.
We also had an additional 911 call for a robbery that had taken place about 5 minutes previous. Very similar motive, 2 males on a scooter that forcibly removed a cell phone from a woman.
That border protection officer has not been identified. He was shot in the face. He is communicating with hand signals as late as yesterday, recovering at Harlem Hospital. The mayor, police commissioner visiting him there yesterday afternoon. Surveillance video released by the Department of Homeland Security captures 2 men on a moped approaching the officer and a woman. One of the men pulls out a gun trying to rob him. That's when the officer drew his weapon and fired at Mora, who was hit in the leg. Here was the police commissioner, the mayor. They held a press conference yesterday.
Our initial investigation reveals that Mr. Mora entered the country illegally in 2023 through Arizona.
At the time of this shooting, he had an active bench warrant from the Bronx, was wanted for a robbery from last December and a stabbing from January.
Mr. Mora is also wanted outside of New York and Massachusetts for the robbery of a pawn shop in which guns were stolen in February 2025.
Mora, exactly the type of individual Mayor Adams says the city is cooperating with the feds to get rid of.
The violent migrant and asylum seekers who are bringing violence and really tarnish the reputation of those who come to this country to pursue the American dream.
Police still looking for the other guy who was on that moped with him. Police say Mora taken into custody after he actually limped into a Bronx hospital with that gunshot wound to his leg and groin area. And then they were able to sort of connect him to that crime. And so once he's out of the hospital, no doubt he'll be behind bars. 5:03. New footage shows what is the tragic final moments before a guy on a bicyclist and a woman sitting on a bench were hit by a speeding car in Chinatown over the weekend. It was Kevin Cruikshank who was on that bicyclist from Morningside Heights in his neighborhood there. He was known as a guy who used to bicycle around the neighborhood, go on these long rides, and that's what he was doing over the weekend when he was hit at 7 in the morning, along with another woman, a 63-year-old May Kwok, who was just simply sitting on a bench at the corner of Canal and Bowery when these two women in this stolen Chevy hit both the bicyclist and Kwok.
I said, no. I tried to block him. I said, you're not leaving the scene. I said, you're not leaving. You're not going anywhere. 70, like 80 miles an hour. It was like straight up flying.
That was an eyewitness who was at the scene. The women tried taking off from the scene. Thankfully, they were caught nearby. They're being detained. They're both in the hospital.
It appears that it was excessive speed. 2 people are in custody. An unfortunate incident. No one should lose their life in that manner.
Yeah, that was the mayor yesterday. The same driver hit reportedly someone else on April 13th in Brooklyn and was arrested the next day without a license. Now, how they were back behind the wheel over the weekend, that's a question police have not answered. 5:05. A 9-year-old Canadian girl whose father had reported she had been kidnapped in upstate New York over the weekend was found dead yesterday afternoon, with investigators saying she had not been abducted, and they're now questioning inconsistencies in her dad's story. The body of the girl, identified by Warren County sheriffs as Melina Fratolin, was discovered in Ticonderoga, New York, near the New York-Vermont border, about 15 minutes from Lake George, where her father initially claimed she had been kidnapped by a man driving a van on Saturday. That led to an Amber Alert, a massive search, and then they found this little girl over the weekend. State police have not disclosed how Melina passed away and what charges the father, if he will, any charges, will be facing. 5:06. Let's bring it back to New Jersey, where a man is dead, 2 others hurt after getting out of their car and standing in the roadway following a crash.
Police say it happened on I-80 East in Patterson about 12:30 in the morning. The Daily Voice reports 36-year-old Clarence Fennell Jr. was one of 2 passengers in a Cadillac that crashed into the side of a Toyota. State police say the driver of the Cadillac, Fennell, and the other passenger got out of the car and stood in the roadway. Cops say a Tesla then slammed into the back of the Toyota and pushed it into the 3 men and the Cadillac. Fennell was killed, the passenger was hurt, while the driver had minor injuries. I'm Lisa Salvati.
WABC News Time 5:08. Let's go out to Los Angeles, where a driver intentionally rammed a crowd of people outside a nightclub in Los Angeles early Sunday morning, injuring dozens. LAPD Commander Lillian Carranza describes what took place.
There were about 30 individuals that were struck by this vehicle, and some of the reports that we have received is that that individual had left an establishment. We're still trying to determine the specific location of the establishment, had driven away northbound, made a U-turn, jumped a curve, and drove on the sidewalk, striking a number of individuals.
Cops still don't have a motive, but there are reports that the driver was upset after being kicked out of the club earlier. Officials only confirming the driver was dragged from his car, beaten, and then shot by an unknown assailant. 7 people critically injured, but no deaths so far, thankfully, have been reported. 5:09. I know it's really one awful story, unfortunately, this morning after another, but sometimes it's just like that, and this one's really terrible. 3 sheriff's deputies dead. We're getting more information about this after an explosion at a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department compound. Sheriff Robert Luna says the deputies were elite senior members of a force.
Tragically, they were 3 sworn members who were fatally killed that were assigned to our arson explosives detail.
Luna says they still not know the cause of the explosion at the training facility. Full investigation underway that also involves the FBI.
An explosion occurred at our Special Enforcement Bureau. Currently, our homicide detectives are on scene, and they are investigating the deaths that are we are being assisted by the Federal Bureau of investigation. All these questions are really good questions, and they're the questions that we have as well. The investigation is just about to get started. At this time, we do not know the cause of the explosion. However, this specific area has been closed off due to the ongoing investigation.
And late yesterday, they did finally reveal the 3 names of those officers who were killed. 5:10 down to Florida, where health officials there are urging Florida swimmers to watch out for flesh-eating bacteria at the beach.
4 people have died and 7 have fallen sick recently from Vibrio vulnificus, a bacteria which thrives in warm coastal areas and leads to rapidly expanding skin infections. It can also cause vomiting and diarrhea. Officials say people with open wounds, piercings, and fresh tattoos are at a higher risk and should avoid warm beach water. I'm Lisa Taylor.
5:11. I've made it 11 minutes into the news hour without mentioning the Coldplay Kiss Cam CEO. Well, that ends right now. He has officially resigned.
By now, you have probably seen the viral video of a couple caught snuggling up and then scurrying away from each other on the Jumbotron at a Coldplay concert. Even frontman Chris Martin pointed out the strange behavior.
Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
We now know the answer to that question, and that couple was a former CEO with the head of HR for their company. Former CEO of astronomer Andy Byron resigned over the weekend. I'm Liz Radabali for 77 WABC News.
5:12, the White House confirming it is looking to reopen Alcatraz as a federal prison. Attorney General Pam Bondi and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum toured the facility.
Alcatraz could hold the worst of the worst. It could hold middle-class violent prisoners. It could hold illegal aliens. It could hold anything.
Bondi says the facility needs a lot of work, but no one has been known to escape the island and survive. History tells us that in 1962, 3 inmates were able to escape, but they were never found. If reopened, Bondi says it would be under the purview of the Bureau of Prisons.
When I say stupid, I say with stiff competition for other stupidity that they have put forth.
That's a former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who is against this idea. San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie says the idea doesn't make sense to him.
They have no realistic plan to make this feasible.
Alcatraz is in San Francisco Supervisor Matt Dorsey's district, and he doesn't think President Trump will actually carry through with the plans.
There's a meme that has taken hold about Taco. Trump always chickens out.
All right. Well, I hope it stays open through my vacation at the end of the month in August, because we have tickets. The Rock has been closed as a federal prison since 1963. Estimates to shift it back into a prison range from hundreds of millions to $4 billion. 5:13. Down to Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis clapping back at complaints from detainees who claim they have no criminal convictions in the U.S. but still ended up in Alligator Alcatraz. According to DeSantis, every detainee is instantly offered some sort of option.
If somebody's here illegally and DHS sends them to Alligator Alcatraz, when they get processed, the first thing that happens is they are offered an all-expense-paid trip back to their home country.
Since Florida began housing migrants at the Everglades detention facility, there have been complaints of broken toilets, mosquitoes, flooding. Governor DeSantis also responding to claims that there are worms in the food provided at Alligator Alcatraz.
The food that the illegal aliens get is the same food that all the workers get who are there. So there's no difference in any of that. And, they're saying all this, and then you see the box lunches sitting there.
Meanwhile, detainees, several legal aid groups have filed a class action lawsuit alleging a lack of legal access and inhumane conditions at the isolated prison. 5:14, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says the Trump administration's immigration crackdown has sparked fear around her city. She was on ABC This Week yesterday.
Not just the deportation, it's the fear that sets in when raids occur, when people are snatched off the street.
She also shared frustration around the administration's decision to deploy the National Guard and active duty Marines in response to citywide protests.
The masked men in unmarked cars, no license plate, no real uniforms, jumping out of cars with rifles and snatching people off the street. leading a lot of people to think maybe kidnappings were taking place.
White House pushing back against that, saying they are deporting the worst of the worst that live in the California area. In a moment, we'll hear from the president again about the Epstein files. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Monday. Good morning, Justin Elliott.
Happy Monday. Good morning to you, Noam Layden. Start here with some baseball. Out in Atlanta, Aaron Judge hit his 36th home run of the season and tied Alex Rodriguez for 6th place in Yankees history. As New York defeated the Braves 4-2, taking 2 of 3 from Atlanta over the weekend as well. Judge's solo homer in the first was his 351st with the Yankees, matching A-Rod, and behind Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, and Yogi Berra. Paul Goldschmidt was 1 for 3 with a walk and an RBI and a run scored. And Giancarlo Stanton was 3 for 5 with a run scored. Devin Williams earned his 14th save for the Yankees. The win kept the Yanks within 3 games of the Toronto Blue Jays in the American League East, ahead of a 3-game series in Toronto starting tonight. Carlos Rodon will get the start in the opener, scheduled for a 7:07 p.m. first pitch up north. In Queens, Juan Soto dashed home with the go-ahead run in the 8th inning, beating a throw to the plate on Luis Torrens' sharp grounder to second base. And the Mets avoided a 3-game sweep yesterday with a 3-2 win over the Cincinnati Reds. Ryan Stanek earned his 2nd save with a scoreless 9th after Edwin Diaz blew a save opportunity for the 2nd time this season when he plunked Spencer Steer with a pitch to force home the tying run in the 8th. Brendan Nimmo had an RBI single in the 3rd, and number 9 hitter Luis Angel Acuna gave the Mets a 2-1 lead with a run-scoring double in the 5th. Mets left-hander David Peterson allowed an unearned run in 6 innings of work. Up next for the Mets, they continue a 6-game homestand tonight with Kodai Senga tabbed to start in the opener of a 3-game series against the LA Angels. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. from Citi Field. We go to the links here. Number 1 golfer in the world, Scottie Scheffler, carded a 68 yesterday to cruise to a 4-stroke victory in the Open Championship at Royal Portrush. The outcome was never really in doubt, as golf's number 1 player finished at 17 under 267, delivering yet another dominant performance to win his 2nd major this year and grab the 3rd leg of the career Grand Slam, the only one he's missing, the U.S. Open. President Donald Trump is threatening to hold up a new stadium deal for Washington's NFL team if it does not restore its old name of the Redskins. Trump also said yesterday that he wants Cleveland's baseball team to revert to its former name, the Indians, saying there was a, quote, big clamoring for this as well. The Washington Commanders and Cleveland Guardians have had their current names since their respective seasons in 2022, and both have said they don't plan to change them back. President Trump said that the Commanders would be, quote, much more valuable if they restored their old name. And sticking with the NFL here, veterans do report for the start of training camp for both the Jets and the Giants tomorrow, with open practices beginning on Wednesday for the G-men and on Friday for Gang Green. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ulrich on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:19. President Trump says lawmakers calling for the release of the Epstein files are troublemakers.
Trump made the comment on Truth Social Saturday after the Justice Department asked federal judges to unseal grand jury testimony in the criminal case against convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Trump wrote, "Even if the court gave its full and unwavering approval, nothing will be good enough for the troublemakers and radical left lunatics making their request." The comment also came one day after the president sued the Wall Street Journal for revealing a letter Trump reportedly wrote to Epstein. I'm Mark Mayfield.
A senior Trump administration official says a hostage deal with Hamas could be coming soon. In an interview with CNN yesterday, Special Envoy for Hostage Release Adam Bowler says Israel's military success against Iran has sparked renewed confidence of a deal.
I think post-Israel winning Iran, there's a new sense of ability to get something done.
Bowler urging Hamas to take the current deal, which calls for the release of at least 10 remaining hostages in exchange for a path to peace.
My recommendation to Hamas would be take the deal that the United States is offering you. Let's get some people home, and let's move to end this conflict.
It says it continues to be a mess in Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu apologizing for an attack on the only Catholic church in Gaza. Correspondent Matt Bradley reports the strike has drawn criticism from the White House.
President Donald Trump, according to the spokesperson for the White House last night, called Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and it sounds like scolded him for what the Israeli military had already said was a regrettable error and a malfunction.
Netanyahu blaming the stray ammunition, says there's an investigation underway into the attack that killed 3, but the church's patriarch of Jerusalem expressing doubt it was an accident, saying the church was hit directly.
According to the White House, that phone call by the president to Netanyahu was what sparked a separate statement from the prime minister's office here in Israel expressing essentially an apology. Now, this is a rare event and one that we're seeing as, fighting not only in the Gaza Strip but all around Israel's fringes has been picking up.
Pope Leo renewing the Vatican's call for a ceasefire in Gaza. 522. Another advisor to Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth says they're leaving the Pentagon.
According to multiple reports, senior staffer Justin Fulcher is no longer working at the Department of Defense. The staffer's exit comes months after 3 top Defense Department officials were fired amid an investigation into information leaks in the department. Fulcher was brought to work at the Pentagon after previously being a member of the Department of Government Efficiency. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Over the weekend, President Trump marking his first 6 months in office by proclaiming the U.S. is the hottest and most respected country in the world right now.
In a Sunday post on Truth Social, Trump claimed his second term as being hailed as one of the most consequential of any president. He went on to list ending major wars and took credit for what he called the revival of the country that was dead 1 year ago. Trump ended the post with "Happy Anniversary." I'm Lisa Carton.
523. More people are leaving California than moving in. U-Haul reports California, the lowest ranked state for growth for the 5th consecutive year.
If they don't need to be here anymore for jobs, then they choose to leave based on cost of housing, taxes, all the other factors that go into our very high cost of living here.
California, incredibly expensive. That's realtor Lindsay Gridley. Over 51% of U-Haul one-way trips were people moving out. New Jersey usually makes this list in the top 5, but at least it's not number 1,
It's just to find better opportunities for them and their families.
Cities most popular for Californians leaving the state are Portland, Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Austin. 523, Tulsi Gabbard accusing former Obama administration officials of treason, claiming they withheld intelligence on Russian interference in the 2016 election. She gave an interview yesterday to Fox News where she alleges this was part of an effort to harm President Trump.
They decided that they would do everything possible to try to undermine his ability to do what voters tasked President Trump to do.
Director of National Intelligence declassified documents over the weekend that she said were evidence the Obama administration manufactured and politicized intelligence to lay the groundwork for the FBI to probe into Russia's election interference.
Those responsible, no matter how powerful they are and were at that time, no matter who was involved in creating this treasonous conspiracy against the American people, they all must be held accountable.
No real response from anybody, the accusations anyway, from anybody involved in the Obama administration. 524. White House is using declining gas prices as evidence President Trump's energy agenda has been taking effect.
It comes after AAA said in a news release that the price of a gallon of gas had dropped to $3.16, marking the lowest seasonal gas price since 2021. A White House spokesperson touted the achievement, saying prices at the pump keep dropping thanks to President Trump unleashing American energy. The president has pushed to roll back environmental regulations and increase energy production to lower the cost of gas. I'm Lisa Taylor.
You can use all that money you save on gas to buy a glass of orange juice. Apparently, orange juice prices are going up.
The Trump administration announced a 50% tariff on Brazil set to take effect on August 1st. The country produces about 75% of global orange juice exports and over half of all orange juice sold in the U.S. Frozen concentrated orange juice prices for future delivery have risen over 10%. I'm Lisa Carton.
525, both PBS and PR will have their budgets slashed, and Republicans are cheering. Not everybody, though. You have Congressman Chip Roy, who says he listened to public radio when he was in his home state helping those affected by the flooding. He's from Texas.
They were more interested in trying to get people to call their House members and senators to save NPR and PBS than they were on reporting on what was going on with the floods.
Yeah, so the argument from NPR and PBS is they provide news to areas that don't have any other news operations. The cuts in funding for public media were part of a plan to pay for President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. 526. A new report by World Atlas names Wendy's as the country's unhealthiest fast food chain.
The triple Baconator meal clocks in at just over 2,100 calories.
Yeah, but it tastes good.
Give me one hunk if you want a Baconator. Let me get that beef for 6 strips of bacon. Oh, there it is. When I say bacon, you say Ader.
The triple Baconator contains 54 grams of saturated fat, as well as 3,400 milligrams of sodium. This one meal alone exceeds most daily nutritional limits. The report reviewed nutrition data, menu gimmicks, and marketing tactics at major fast food chains. I'm Rob Martyr.
All right, people, that won't stop anybody being there.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5:35. Good morning. It is Monday, July 21st. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sunshine, low humidity, just a beauty of a day on the way. High 85. And then tonight...
When is Sid coming back?
I don't know. I'm trying to find out. I have no idea when Sid's going to be back.
Yeah.
But it may be this morning because what I've heard is that former Long Island Congressman George Santos, who, got in all kinds of trouble and had to resign, and is going to report to prison on Sunday. And he's supposed to give his very last interview to Sid this morning at 8:40. So let's hope he makes it back in time for that.
I think he will. I know for a fact that Sid had a very nice conversation with Mr. Santos when Sid was in Europe last week.
Oh.
And George is looking forward to doing his last interview with Sid before he is treated rudely by Bubba in prison.
He's getting 87 months. Let's see if I can figure out how many years that is. There's 12 months in a year. 12 goes into 87.
7 times.
Oh, thank you. 7 times. So make sure you're listening to Sid. We're excited he's back. And then George Santos joins him live coming up this morning at 8:40 to talk about the fact, which I'm sure is true. He's frightened, as anybody would be, about having to report to prison come Sunday. WABC News Time, 5:39. Let's go out to the campaign for mayor. Seems every weekend they're making news. Democrat Zohran Mamdani taking a break from the race for mayor, he says, to reconnect with his roots in the African country of Uganda. Of course, that's where he was born. He made the announcement in an online video yesterday. He says he and his wife are meeting up with old friends and family until the end of the month, so they'll be there for more than a week. He's going there for a wedding, and he says when he comes back, he'll gear up for the last part of the race. So he released this video yesterday where he talked about the fact that he's going to Uganda and he knows he'll get a lot of BS for it.
Being a politician means listening, not just to your supporters, but your critics too. And some of these critics, especially on a certain website, have been giving me consistent advice. For example, at SamWhite087, Zohran, go back to Uganda where you come from and belong. At Teflon Gone, loser, go back to Africa. There are thousands like this from across the country. I hear you. And I agree. I'm going back to Uganda. I'm headed there in a personal capacity to celebrate Rama and I's marriage with our family and friends. But I do want to apologize to the haters, because I will be coming back.
The Democratic Socialist is already drawing fire from all the other candidates in the race. They say they're too busy to go on vacation like he's going.
And since you will undoubtedly read about this trip in the New York Post, inshallah on the front page, here are a few of my humble suggestions for headlines. MIA, Mamdani in Africa. Uganda miss me. He's completely crazy. The Afra can't be serious. Carl Kampalanili investigates Mamdani. Zoe running away.
Yeah, that was his video that he released over the weekend before he left for Uganda. He was trying to make a deal, by the way, to get an endorsement from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries when he was in D.C. last week. And the House Speaker over the weekend said he wasn't ready to endorse anybody in the race, even though Zohran Mamdani is the Democratic nominee.
We're going to have a very robust discussion of everyone being on the same page.
Yeah, so that was, he wasn't ready to endorse anybody in the race just yet. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo appeared to be joking over the weekend when he said that he would move to Florida if Zohran Mamdani wins the race for mayor. He was actually speaking at a gathering that was hosted by our owner and operator, John Katsimatidis, in Southampton. Here's what it sounded like. I'm trying to decide if this tape is good enough. I don't know if this was secretly stolen. I don't think so. Someone handed it to us. But here he was, the governor, making this joke at a Hamptons breakfast that he would move to Florida if Zohran Mamdani won the race in November.
Thank you for taking this time. It is all or nothing.
Yeah, I think that's hard to understand, right? Anyway, that's what he said. And then you had Mayor Adams over the weekend touting a drop in crime as he expands what he says are quality of life initiatives.
Historically, during the month of June, July, and August, we witnessed increases in shooting. We are down 30% in June. It's all coming together to make sure that every block in this city counts and every block in this city will be a safe place to raise children and families.
And then Curtis was on the Mark Levin show over the weekend. Here's what he had to say about getting support from some big-name Fox personalities and from somebody you'll recognize here from WABC.
But I am so proud that I have the two biggest stars of the Fox News channel who have my back, Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, and, of course, Sid Rosenberg, the top morning show host in the nation on WABC.
Yeah,
it doesn't get any better than that. But let me tell you this, Mark. I don't have the billionaire support, the blue-collar working class. They have only me. So, Levinites, I need your help.
He was asking, of course, to do some fundraising on the Mark Levin show. Mark reaping praise on Curtis.
I know you don't have a lot of money because some of you work paycheck to paycheck. But if you can help my campaign to save New York City, that'll help saving America, because they're not going to stop with New York City. They didn't stop with Chicago. They didn't stop with Los Angeles or San Francisco. They want the big prize. They want to take the epicenter of capitalism away.
Yeah, so busy weekend on the campaign trail for everybody, I guess, for Zohran, except for Zohran Mamdani, who is in Uganda today. 5:43. A man stabbed his wife and 2-year-old daughter to death in Queens before critically injuring himself over the weekend in what police are investigating as a murder-suicide attempt. Police say the father was actually using FaceTime with his nephew as he was stabbing his wife and daughter. That nephew called police, who raced to the scene. This was on Forest Avenue in Ridgewood. When they got there, the unthinkable had already been done. One by one, bodies were removed from this apartment. This neighbor watched it all take place.
The child was first, what we think is the father second, and then lastly, the mother. A child. It's a child. Like, they're the most vulnerable beings ever. It's very outraging.
Yeah, police say the 41-year-old mother was stabbed 18 times in the neck and chest, pronounced dead. The 2-year-old girl stabbed 9 times, later pronounced dead. The 54-year-old man had stab wounds to his chest and critically wounded, still in the hospital alive today.
This isn't normal. You just don't see gurneys and people filled with blood coming out of a building. That's not normal, not in this neighborhood.
Now, neighbors say they never heard any fighting in that apartment. In fact, they did not know the family well at all because they kept to themselves. They say everything appeared normal, at least on the outside.
I think we're all just in shock. Like, maybe ask us in a few days, but right now we're all in much shock. It's really sad.
Yeah, police tell us the bloodshed appears to be domestic in nature. All right, 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Ella.
Thank you, Noam Oled, and we'll start you on the diamond. In Atlanta, Aaron Judge hit his 36th homer of the season, tied Alex Rodriguez for 6th place in Yankees history, as New York defeated the Braves 4-2, taking 2 of 3 from Atlanta over the weekend as well. Judge's solo homer in the first was his 351st with the Yanks, matching A-Rod, and behind Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, and Yogi Berra. Good company there. Paul Goldschmidt was 1 for 3 with a walk, an RBI, and a run scored, and Giancarlo Stanton was 3 for 5, I should say, with a run scored. Devin Williams earned his 14th save. The win kept the Yankees within 3 games of the Toronto Blue Jays in the American League East, ahead of a 3-game series in Toronto starting tonight. Carlos Rodon will get the start in the opener, scheduled for a 7:07 p.m. first pitch up north. In Queens, Juan Soto dashed home with the go-ahead run in the 8th inning, beating a throw to the plate on Luis Torrens' sharp grounder to second base. And then the Mets avoided a 3-game sweep yesterday with a 3-2 win over the Cincinnati Reds. Ryan Stanek earned his second save with a scoreless 9th after Edwin Diaz blew a save opportunity for the second time this season when he plunked Spencer Steer with a pitch to force home the tying run in the 8th. Brandon Nimmo had an RBI single in the 3rd, and Luis Angel Acuna gave the Mets a 2-1 lead with a run-scoring double in the 5th. Mets left-hander David Peterson, he allowed an unearned run in 6 innings of work. Up next for the Mets, they continue a 6-game homestand tonight. Kodai Senga tabbed to start in the opener of a 3-game series against the L.A. Angels. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. from Citi Field. We go to the links now overseas. Number 1 golfer in the world, Scottie Scheffler, carded a 68 yesterday to cruise to a 4-stroke victory in the Open Championship at Royal Portrush. The outcome was never really in doubt, as golf's number 1 player finished at 17 under 267, delivering yet another dominant performance to win his 2nd major this year and grab the 3rd leg of the career Grand Slam. And now we head to the gridiron, where President Donald Trump is getting involved, threatening to hold up a new stadium deal for Washington's NFL team if it does not restore its old name of the Redskins. Trump also said yesterday that he wants Cleveland's baseball team to revert to its former name, the Indians, saying there was a, quote, big clamoring for this as well. The Washington Commanders and Cleveland Guardians have had their current names since their respective seasons in 2022, and both have said they don't plan to change them back. The president said that the Commanders would be, quote, much more valuable if they restored their old name. We'll see what comes of that. And
did you see who the Bulls picked up over the weekend?
No.
They picked up this Japanese point guard.
Yeah.
He's 5'8".
Oh, this should be fun.
Yuki Kawamura.
Yeah.
I guess he's done really well in the summer league.
Mm-hmm.
So he's by far the shortest player in the NBA. The next shortest player.
Where did he play in? Was he that Nebraska kid?
I think so.
Yeah. So I remember him from the tournament. He was this
5'8".
Yeah, but he was this ball of energy.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the Nebraska men's basketball team, but he seemed like he was a starter out there, getting big chunky minutes. And putting in some really formidable work for him. I mean, I don't know.
But you know what the shortest player is after him? 5'8"?
Who?
6 feet.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's...
So he's the shortest guy in the league by far.
Not even close.
Wow.
I mean, I know there's been shorter NBA players, but 5'8".
Oh, wow.
And that they're picking him up.
Good for him, man.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought that was kind of interesting.
Tiny guys don't always finish last there.
No. Let's hope for somebody like me.
Last note here. Veterans do report for training camp in the NFL for both the Jets and the Giants. Tomorrow, open practices begin on Wednesday for the G-Men and on Friday for Gang Green. That is your Sports Gnome. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:50. Sometimes stories just sit with you because they're so incredibly tragic and preventable, and this is one of them. A 61-year-old man. We told you about this guy last week. He was magnetically pulled into an MRI machine while wearing a metal chain. This was at the NASA Open MRI on Old Country Road in Westbury out on Long Island. Last Wednesday, he took a friend to get an MRI. And for some reason, we don't know why, he walked into this MRI room while a scan was taking place and was drawn into the machine.
That really made me upset because that should never happen. The only thing I saw was Nassau County Police Department, ambulance, fire department.
Yeah, so he was in critical condition. And then we got word over the weekend that he had passed away. He actually had passed away on Thursday, but they didn't announce it until over the weekend. But, geez, this guy was just taking a friend to get an MRI.
I made another appointment here, but I think I better reschedule it somewhere else. I think so.
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear anything about that. They just said that the machine was broke.
Yeah, they were still investigating why and how he was in that room as that MRI scan was taking place. Just awful. 5:51, several organizations helping people make progress in cleaning up the mess that was left behind by those flash floods. A week ago today in Plainfield, in North Plainfield, this woman has lived in Plainfield her whole life, and she says this flooding has just become the new norm.
This has been going on, like I said, since 1970 when I moved here. I have 20 grandkids, 18 living, and 3 great-grand that's a part of this house now. And it's hard, because if it keep going like this, I'm not going to be able to keep the house. It's hard. It's really hard, Every time you try to take one step forward, you get knocked back 3.
Yeah, so there were some nice moments in this cleanup over the weekend. More than 80 members of a local group called Legionnaires, which is a construction crew. They were helping pump out water of basements, power washing houses, carrying out garbage, just volunteering to help out.
Yeah, going to every single house and see who needs help to bring all the stuff damage, whatever damage they have, we're gonna carry to the curb and see what else they need. Probably we're gonna do some power washing, whatever they need to do. That's what we're going to try to do.
Yeah, we were watching this. They were really helping out. The mayor of Plainfield says workers in town are also helping out.
We want to provide assistance first to those who are not able-bodied, especially to our seniors who need help in carting things out of their basement. And we have made our solid waste and sewer, as well as our Department of Public Works, available to just pick this stuff up from the curb and take it to our site at our transfer station.
The town just a mess in the aftermath of that flooding. In fact, last night they hosted a benefit inside Plainfield High School auditorium to raise funds to help residents who are struggling to recover. 5:53, let's bring it back here into the city. For the first time in their 30-year history, the Animal Care Centers of New York City have suspended animal shelter pet intake due to critical capacity issues. Apparently, they have over 1,000 animals in their shelter now. They normally have a lot less than that, but all of a sudden, during the course of the last months or so, people have been turning in mostly dogs, but also cats.
Usually, when we have 600 in our care at one time, we kind of panic, but 1,000 is just, we've never had this many.
Yeah, we were looking at the ACC's website. They have 800 pets available for adoption. Now, there were a lot of people adopting over the weekend when they heard that the shelter had too many animals in their cages there, but unfortunately, it was just as many people dropping off animals. And the people who work at ACC saying that if it's a money issue, they'll help people out, like get them pet food, that kind of thing.
People that are thinking, I just don't have enough time for my pet. Just try and make the time. Now is a terrible time to have to surrender your pet. Chances are we could help you. You might be able to keep your family together.
Yeah, they're trying to convince people to hold on to their pets.
We try and ask people to work with their family and their friends. Can someone take their pet for a short time? Maybe someone in your neighborhood knows your pet and would adopt your pet.
And Curtis Sliwa, of course, who's running for mayor in WABC, he'll be on actually with Sid this morning. He's going to hold a press conference a little bit later today. He says that part of the reason there's so many problems with ACC is the way they're spending their budget and how the money is spent. So we'll hear from him before the morning is out. 5:55, up to Westchester County Playland Park in Rye, open for the 2025 season back on Memorial Day weekend. But some social media users, especially on TikTok, are warning people not to go. They say it's not safe, that most of the rides aren't open. And over the weekend, the people who run the park, which is owned or run by Westchester County, were pushing back against that idea.
We were left with not much, so we're recreating here. And when we get to the point of a ride being ready to operate, then we go to the New York State Department of Labor, who has to come inspect and give us our permit for each ride.
So when Westchester County took over the park before this season, 20 of the 40 rides were not working. So that's what these TikTokers are seeing. When they show up, they see that $15, that's all it is to get in, but it doesn't get you a lot of rides. And they say it's kind of a ghost town at a place that used to be a pretty popular Playland Park and Ride.
To this date, about 65,000 people going through that amusement park. We just opened on Memorial Day weekend. It was free that weekend. We're charging you $15.
Yeah, so they're saying, okay, ride by ride, they're reopening Playland Park and Rye and pushing back against those TikTokers.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?